was recently reading, or rather rereading, a collection of short stories by Vladimir Nabokov, who will now disappear from this discussion. He pulled a similar stunt in one of his stories. Or maybe it was Borges. Maybe it was Christie. None of them would mind, I'm sure. What I like most about a collection of stories is that reading can be broken into short commitments. That's true of any book broken into chapters, of course, but chapters are usually longer than short stories, which appeal precisely because they're, well, short. They promise tightly contained experiences that you can pick up, digest quickly, and then move on. I stress the moving on because I am never so engrossed in reading that I do not feel an itch to do something else. In fact, I most enjoy noting the bookmark's progress each time I put down the book. It's like a flag promising I'm approaching the finishing line. With nonfiction, I at least recognize I will learn something and remember something, while even the best fiction more or less evaporates after I have read it. The story or novel that sticks with me well enough to remember it on a second encounter is truly rare. That is why I stress that I am rereading these stories. With one or two exceptions, most of them feel unfamiliar, so I might as well have never read them. I know I have read them because I complete any book I purchase. Like eating rotten vegetables, I don't want to feel I've wasted the money. Anyone who knows me will probably be surprised by these admissions, and to be sure, I recognize reading's value and strongly feel that not enough emphasis is put on literacy. I do, in fact, read a lot, although that might explain my dislike of the process as much as indicating an investment in it. Put it this way. I understand why most people read as little as possible because it is a tedious, time-consuming process which, if you do not enjoy it, provides as much pleasure as a trip to the dentist. But, like brushing your teeth or going to work, it's something unpleasant that has to be done. So, I have a PhD. I was raised by someone who viewed reading as one of life's great pleasures and who thoroughly indoctrinated me in the importance of education. My greatest material success, and whatever fragment of fame I may possess, result in no small way from verbal dexterity and intellectual curiosity. I write, I publish, I've taught, and I am cited by others. If, after all of that, I can think of reading as at best an arid obligation, what can it be like for someone who has not been raised to think of it as a value, particularly if they have an active, impatient temperament? Because I recognize that reality, it is difficult for me to recommend reading as leisure to anyone who does not understand the power of learning. Besides, anyone who does understand does not need encouragement to read. Why do I do it when I do not have to? Well, it beats sleeping all day, and I'm not one to vegetate in front of a television. I'm not motivated to do yard work or help in the community either. That's the flip side of the introversion that reading encourages or reinforces. I know that nonfiction at least offers learning something new. I read fiction partly to familiarize myself with those authors who are supposed to be important, but who I have managed to avoid. Nonfiction offers the possibility of factual knowledge. Good fiction suggests sparkling style to emulate. But the popular image of curling up with a book is just not my idea of time well spent. I enjoy creature comforts as much as anyone. In fact, probably more so if the effort I put into evoking them in my films and videos is any indication. Sitting for hours with a dusty, musty book on my lap, squinting at badly formed letters oozing into a dry, cheap paper is not my idea of creature comfort. I'm not much of an outdoors person, but when it comes to whiling away the hours, give me a stretch in the sun as the wind blows through the trees any time over the cramped pleasures of losing myself in a novel. I suspect this is because I never get lost in fiction's engrossed rapture. I do not even especially want to do so. If I want to get lost in a fiction, I'd rather have it wrapped in the sensory stimulation of a movie or television. My pleasure with a fiction writer's use of language is very different from being caught up in a story and wondering how it will turn out. Looking at the writing as writing makes immersion almost impossible. I can marvel at, envy, seek to imitate, or despise the writing, but always apart from its narrative purpose. Not that I am immune to familiar tropes of dramatic construction, subterfuge, surprise, and psychological perception, but I value those supposed raison d'etre only as models to be emulated or as tricks to steal. Even the one form of fiction I do enjoy, the mystery, is more a matter of playing cat and mouse with the writer than any kind of enraptured involvement. Put more simply than the topic deserves, perhaps, I would say that I read nonfiction to be a smarter person, while I read fiction to be a better writer. I measure nonfiction by the quality of information it relays or the thoughts it provokes. My gain from fiction is appropriative to the point of exploitative. In both cases, I use reading very much more than I enjoy it. That utility is virtually limitless conceptually, but too confined sensually for me to enjoy it for itself. I read for what comes after reading.